Hello, Internet people. You have spoken and I have listened. So today we're going to master this song we've been mixing in Universal Audio's Luna. So let's start with what I've done so far. All I've done is imported the mix that we made. I have set up a bus, a 2-bus here that is being fed by that track. We will consider this a master bus right now. And I have a little notepad here on the main. And that's just for me keeping a few notes here. So let's begin. I had a few folks reach out and ask about mastering specifically for Soundcloud, and that's what we're gonna do today. Now, I wanna give a caveat at the beginning of this. If you are super proud of your mix and it is important to you, please send it to a mastering engineer. But I'm going to do this in sort of a quick way to get you in the ballpark of what would need to be done for SoundCloud. So I have at the top up here, I have some markers to remind me of what is going on in the song and what needs to be paid attention to. And let's begin at the beginning here. I'm just going to play it for a minute so we'll have an idea of where we are.
Train with your open arm, looking at the big sky, listening to the smoke alarm.
Great. Now, just looking at the waveform here, we can tell there is some energy movement here in the middle where this gets louder, and especially at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head out here to the end right fast, and we're going to take a look at a VU meter to see exactly how bad I've printed this mix loudness-wise. So I'm going to pull up a VU meter here. I have this set to RMS levels. It's set at the AES 17, not that you need to know this. This is going to show me the RMS level, which is the sort of an average loudness level at the end here on this section.
There's a spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your heaven is a honey jar.
Pretty bad. I have done that poorly. Probably at the beginning. If I go back over here, it might be okay.
We're standing on the back of that.
Not really, no. I'm trying to see levels around -18, which is in this area right here.
We're standing on the back.
Let's head back to the loud section over here. I'm going to play that, and I'm going to pull the gain down on this section here until it is at that level I want it at.
Full of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your heaven is a honey jar. It's a honey jar.
I'll take that. It's moving around it, you know, it's averaging around -18. Let's listen to the beginning again.
Train with your open arm.
All right, let me head back over here. I'm gonna boost that a little bit on the main. Okay, now at the beginning of this song, we have a little section, sort of a pre-roll here. Okay, great. Now, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to leave this VU meter on here. This is my input meter. And first thing I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to put an EQ on this track. I'm going to use the BX Digital V3. That's the version 3 of this plugin from Brainworks. And the first thing I'm going to work with is a couple of filters.
Train with your open arm.
Okay, I'm going to link both sides of this plugin here for the mono section, that's the mid section, the side section, the stereo part, And I'm going to pull this up to about 30 and leave it there. Okay, my next process that I hear that I want is a little bit of side information that I'm going to use the curve bender to create. The way you do this on this particular plugin, I'm going to unlink the channels and I'm going to press the mid-side processing button here. That means that this over here is my sides. This is my mids. So all of this is the mono section. This is the stereo section.
Train with your open arm, and looking at the big sky, listening to the smoke alarm. Well, you wonder what happened. Your heart must have jumped the track. You put your lips out in the wind and you hope you get some kissing back. Every night you get the same old.
Okay, you notice I'm using very small movements here. I'm using a 0.5 dB boost at 12 kilohertz. And on the shelf section here, that's going to add a little bit of air to the mix only in the side section. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a wider sounding mix.
Well, standing on the back of that train with your open arm, looking at the big sky, listening to the smoke alarm. Well, you wonder what happened. Your heart must have jumped the train.
Same idea. I'm using in the mid section here, 0.5 dB boost at 70 on the low shelf. That's giving a little bit of a rise to the bottom. Okay, I'm happy with that right there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add Sonic's inflator. This is a very interesting plugin. Maybe I'll go through a video on this someday, but I'm just kind of pushing through this mastering thing right now. So the effect portion of this is what I'm listening for. And I'm going to push it up until it sounds like too much, and then I'm going to come back.
Train with your open arm, and looking at the big sky, listening to the smoke alarm. Well, you wonder what happened. Your heart must have jumped the track.
Okay, now before I go any further, I'm going to move over into a louder section and listen to what we've done right fast.
Every night you get the same old dream. There's a spoonful of honey where your heart should be. And there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. Ooh, honey dripping off of your spoon.
Okay, I can already tell that as we push more loudness and processing into this track that it's going to get a little bit harsh. And to alleviate some of that harshness, there's a couple ways we can go about it. The way that I'll go about it today is to use the BX refinement plugin. And this is also kind of a deep plugin that does a lot of things that I won't really explain right now. But there is a preset that comes with it that is a subtle de-harsh. This is about as subtle as you can get with this plugin. And at the same time, I'm going to turn the mix all the way down. I'm going to leave the dampening where it is right now, and we will listen to what it's doing here in a second.
Every night you get the same old dream. Every night you get the same old dream. There's a spoonful of honey where your heart should be. And there's a honey dripping.
Okay, that seems to be freaking out my graphics card. Okay, this plugin has the ability to solo the filter that is being applied to it. by clicking on this button right here. And that's what I'm going to do right now. We're going to take a listen to what we're going to be dampening or damping using this plugin. I'm at a low percentage of mix right now. I'm somewhere around 15%. So I'm only using a small bit of this, but we'll listen to the solo filter right fast. That's a lot of information right there that's being put into the refinement plugin.
Every night you get the same old dream. There's a sprung. Every night you get the same old dream.
Okay, it's going to be easier to hear that, I think, if I actually toggle that refinement on and off right here without using the GUI to do it. I think it's freaking out my graphics card right fast. So here it is with.
Every night you get the same old dream. There's a spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. Ooh, honey, honey drip. You can wish it. Heaven, there's a honey jar.
That's doing the trick right there. That's exactly what I want it to do. It's taking some of that harshness out and making it a little smoother sounding. Okay, this seems like a lot of processing so far, but I'm doing very little movements in each one of these. If you noticed, very, very little things with each one. Okay, now on the 2 bus, I'm going to start adding a limiter to this. I'm going to use the FabFilter Pro L2, and I'm actually going to turn on the oversampling so that there's no possibility of any aliasing, because I am at 44.1 here. So I'm going to come over here to the output, and what I'm going to do is turn that down to negative 1.2. Now, why negative 1.2 and not negative 1.0? The reason why is because I'm going to be using this modern style of limiter here. I'm probably going to use this. I may change it, but we'll use this for now. And sometimes the peak limiting will go past the actual limiting. Even though I have the true peak limiting on, it doesn't always catch everything. So I want to be sure we have enough insurance at the top of the range so that if something peaks a little over negative 1.0, then so we have enough room for it not to clip the Soundcloud algorithm. This is actually a good time to talk about levels since we're working on a master for Soundcloud. Let me pull this notepad up here. Soundcloud has an algorithm that allows a peak of a song to be negative 1.0 dB TP. That's true peak. So nothing above negative 1.0, even if there's a tiny peak that goes over it, is allowed to come through without being distorted or in some way mangled and made to sound terrible. We also have a loudness level here between -8 and -13. That's actually pretty common. Most streaming services are around that lower end of that, -13 or even lower sometimes. The DR I've written down here, that's a dynamic range, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But this is as loud as you can go at a peak, and the LUFS value here is as loud as the average of it can be over time. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm going to leave that alone, but we're going to put this limiter on just to make sure we got a little bit of headroom here.
Well, standing on the back of that train with your open arms.
Okay, now I'm actually happy with the way that's sounding right now. So what I'm going to do on the 2 bus here is before the limiter, I'm going to put the Dangerous Backs EQ Master. The reason I'm doing that is a little bit more filtering. On the 2 bus here, I'm going to put a low pass filter somewhere around 18 hertz at first, and then I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to leave the high cut filter off for a moment. Okay, I like that. what this is doing, if you are able to listen real close, is that it's actually making it kind of fuller sounding. I'm getting rid of any extraneous harmonics that are coming below, or any frequencies that are coming through this processing below 24 hertz. And the cut at 70, I mean, that's way above our hearing, but it makes it kind of more contained sounding, and that's what I want.
A spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon.
Okay, we're well within levels right now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here after the limiter, and we're going to pull up the round trip AAC plugin, which is bizarre if you've never seen this or looked at it. What this is going to do is allow us to audition what this will sound like through a codec like is used on Soundcloud. For instance, they use a 128 kilobytes per second encoder. And so no matter what you send them, it's going to come out at 128 kilobytes per second. And I would like to know what that sounds like. So we're going to listen to that. We're going to watch these sources. I'm going to look for intersample peaks as I pull up the limiter. I'm going to pull the main level down while I do this a little bit.
A spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping.
Okay, now when I'm going to pull this back up so I didn't hurt anybody's ears doing that, we're listening to the source right now. I'm going to turn it on encoded, and we'll listen to the change in sound.
A spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your heaven is a honey jar. It's a honey jar. The honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your.
I really don't like what that's doing to the S's in the song, but we'll probably have to live with that because this is the nature of 128 kilobytes per second.
A spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your spoon.
Okay, so let me turn this off now. We'll come back to that in a minute. I want to look at the Lufts level, which is indicated here on the limiter, and I'm also going to pull up a meter that is purely designed to do that.
A spoonful of honey where your heart should be, and there's a honey dripping off of your spoon. A honey dripping off of your spoon. The honey dripping off of your.
Okay, this is the loudest part of the song, and it's showing negative 11 lufts, which is kind of okay for me right now. I'm going to set up a few things down here at the bottom. My target is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to move this down to, or up to about negative 12. If you remember that my target for SoundCloud is between negative 8 and negative 13, so I'm going to go on the conservative side of that. We'll go about 11.5. True peak, I want to measure at negative 0.1. The short-term minimum doesn't matter, off. Short-term maximum doesn't matter, off. Okay, I'm going to head back to the beginning of the song now. And we're going to reset this meter and see what happens. Running through that song one pass, I'm okay with the levels right now. However, there's a section here where I want to put a little bit more energy into the 2 bus. So I'm going to do that by using automation. Okay, on this section here, I'm going to do kind of the opposite, where I'm going to make it a little bit more dynamic in a different way. Okay, that seems to be about where it needs to be. Now, I've done a couple of changes here in the gain structure, so I need to head back over to my 2-bus, and I'm going to see what that does to my overall levels. Okay, that seems to be about where I need to be on levels here. I still have a negative 1.2 true peak level, which is fine. I still have room of error in uploading, etc. to SoundCloud. And my overall loudness is around negative 12 lufs, and that's perfect. That's within their range. I did notice that during one of the louder sections that one of the short-term levels got around negative 8.9, I think. So that is actually within their spec, negative 8 to negative 13 lufs. So we are right in the sweet spot of what this needs to be level-wise. Now the only thing left to do is to take care of the what they call the tops and tails. So I'm going to close these right fast. I'm going to zoom in on this beginning section here. I'm going to go back to the clip view. I'm going to get rid of this section here. I'm going to move this to the beginning of the track here. In Luna, when you move a track, it does automatically move the automation for you, so that's good to know. Now let's zoom back in on this beginning. I'm going to assume that they don't want most of that, so I'm going to grab this fader. Yep, I think that'll work. That actually may be kind of a long intro, but it gives your streaming service a little bit of time to catch up, and that's a good thing. Let's go to the end. We're going to do the same thing. I think right there should be about the end. So I just used the B key for a break, and I'm going to highlight the rest of this, get rid of it, and grab this fader handle, and I'm going to fade the end the same way we kind of did the beginning. Okay, that's it. Now for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to go back through another listen. Normally I would go through another listen to check the encoding to make sure nothing happened wonky in what we just did, and just an overall listen. But now it's time to mix down, and what I would do, I'll go to the main fader here and option click that to put it at unity gain so that everything is even all the way across the bar. I'll come up here to mix down or export, and I would keep this at 44.1. I would use 16 bits again, make sure that we're on the main. Yep. And print a final master of it. That's what I would upload to SoundCloud, and that's how I would do that. So again, a caveat on this whole mastering thing I just did here. This is sort of a home mastering that I'm doing here. This is not exactly what I would do in a professional situation, but this will get you there, and it will be okay for SoundCloud as long as you follow the constraints of loudness and the platform, and you take a lot of listens to what you're doing, make sure nothing gets messed up in the encoding, and then turn that encoding back off so that you actually send a full 16-bit 44.1K wave to SoundCloud. That's it. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe. Please hit the like button, and I will be back in a day or two with some new videos. Thanks so much. Bye.